Good evening and welcome to Hockey Night in Australia. I am joined tonight by my co-host Sean O'Connor and a very, very special guest, Vinnie Hughes of the Melbourne Ice. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you both?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. Another week.
Another week, and look, a big week for Melbourne, Vinnie, with some big results. Our first derby on Friday night and beat the Mustangs, and then back that up again on Saturday against the Braves. So tell us just a bit about the weekend for you and as a team.
Oh, look, the build up to Derby days, like they're just priceless. Like we already know that, it's a sellout, and it's quite funny because, even though we play harder against other states, we in Victoria, we actually play harder against ourselves. We've got that in our blood where we just like beating the piss out of each other. So the build up to obviously the Derby it's always been there. Sellouts. I think we've already got the second one already sold out. The rivalry's there. The stats are there. Everything comes down to, obviously player wise, bragging rights, and whose house is it. So from the get go, like you're on the back foot or you're pushing forward trying to pull a dub out of that building, especially when it's your own home, hometown. So it's quite exciting.
Excellent. Look, one question that's a few of us have been curious about: what's it like being able to be out there again and playing alongside Joey?
Oh, look, you know what? It's me and him were we're thick as thieves, so you can't separate us. We're always around each other. For me to sort of just jump back on the train, it's pretty special for him, and I usually, obviously being the bigger brother, the better brother. Look, it really hits home. Like we get to hang out, like we did the Perth roadie together. And it just doesn't, we don't really have to try when we're sort of hanging around each other. We're just ourselves. So it just feels like we're at home. So, you just have that connection. It's pretty special. And, at the end of the day, we're both there for a job. We love to compete. That's definitely in our blood. And we want to win, so doing that together, how can you not take in every moment?
Yeah, brilliant. And look, there's a lot of brothers in the league as a whole. We've got there's the Kulishov brothers that are playing with the Rhinos this season, the Kubara brothers that are all divided and split, but we've been used to for a while. They're the four of them all with Canberra Braves. So I think it's something that makes the league special is the family connections throughout the league. So I think it's really cool to see the two of you back together.
Yeah, look, 100%. At the same time, we've got another two pair. We've got a pair of brothers. Coming in the lineup, like the Brontes, and just been able to hang out with Tyrone, and then he's going to get his brother back very shortly as well. And just to sort of see that transition happen is pretty special because me and my brother have been playing in this in this league for donkey's years, and from the get go, we take it for granted, but then to sort of sit back and see it happen all over again, and especially try to. You look back, sitting there and then go, oh, look, there's a goblet to be handed to, and there's another set of brothers coming in. I'm like, it's, you can't sit back and just, have big smile on your face knowing, what they're going to get themselves into.
So we might just throw up the standings for round 5 and have a quick look through that.
Sure. Let's do that. Oh, you want the standings? Yeah, I can do that.
Sorry, the results is what I meant. You had the right one. So, look, as we touched on, the Ice had two big games, so 5-2 over the Mustangs and 10-2 over the Brave. Tell us a little bit just about the Brave game. Like, obviously, Canberra are the defending champions, and how was it just coming out, just having such a strong showing against that team?
Oh, look, there's obviously history there from, Canberra doing what they did last year, and the boys obviously, they take it to heart. Is there, before that game even started, was there redemption? 100%. It just wanted to set the tone and just decide what we're going to do, and we're going to play our game. It was just to finish on a good note, just the way we basically played that game and try to keep out of the, obviously the penalty box is always key, but at the end of the day, there's no love lost. And look, unfortunately, the score blows out. No one enjoys those big blowout games, especially being on the other end of them. So, like to the boys, it was a credit because they obviously they had some unfinished business. But look, we take it game by game. So that's one. There's still plenty more hockey to play, and obviously Canberra to get back up on their feet.
Yeah, that's been. I always look back on like one of my favorite games that I've ever watched live was a Melbourne Ice versus Canberra Brave game back in, I think it was 2019, 2018, something like that. And the game ended 10-9. Like those games, like which are high scoring, so there's a lot of fun, but then they're so close and so tightly fought. They're always the best games.
Yeah, those high scoring games, they're so weird because you just don't know if the dime's going to turn.
Yeah.
We for example, like our opener was against the Rhinos. Like, I think we were down almost by 3 or 4 goals, and just to turn it around, and then obviously we lost in overtime. But it's such a learning curve. But knowing that you can turn it like that, and when it does happen at those high scoring games, it's just the action's never ending, is it?
Yeah.
Something when I've had the chance to talk to coaches is they talk about the adversity. So that, like you're saying, they're coming back from behind. How do you find that helps you as a player, and even what you see happen with your teammates when you get to work on that and really feel what you've got in you to turn those sort of games around?
You've got, look, you put teams together, and then you've got key players. Everybody plays a different role. You've got, for myself, I excel in losing games, like the comeback, the crawl back. I love those games. I love to compete. Blowout games I find completely boring. I don't even want to get on the score sheet. But at the end of the day, there's other guys that excel in those situations that that are goal hungry, but that's a positive thing moving forward. But at the same time, with coming back, walking into that wall, knowing that you're on the back pedal, digging deep, putting the boots on, and going to work, and then pulling the points out, coming from behind, there's no better feeling. I have so much, like basically worth knowing that we've just done, like knowing that we're about to lose the game, and then being able to turn it, going to bed, and then that night, wherever you are on the road or at home, going, I've got a big smile on my face because we turned it around. Like, we did exactly what we needed to do. It didn't work out to plan, but I earned this one, and I'm sleeping well tonight.
So how did you choose to become a defenseman, Vinny? Or did it just...
It wasn't by choice, to be honest. I'd always played as a forward growing up. And then obviously moving back to Melbourne when I was sort of wrapping things up from playing overseas as roughly a 23, 24-year-old. Melbourne lacked pretty much defensemen and key defensemen. Did it take a long time, to obviously process how to play D? It was a completely different game. So, when I did come home, I had to, obviously learn the ropes. I made a lot of mistakes. Knowing what I know now, I credit to myself knowing what, obviously how to cover D-zone coverage and how to lock down a game. It's priceless, but it just takes, as a forward, and I'm not, forwards are weird. I like defensemen. But as a defenseman, having a shutout, and especially working in with your goalie at the end of the game, is just a special moment between the defenseman and your netminder, and no better feeling. But at the same time, I literally playing D, for about a good 10 years. It was probably by about year, the 4th year of playing D, it sort of just slowly started coming along, but it was a long road.
Yeah, and you guys have been quite good in defence both last year and this year with the sheeter and goals as well. So you've got a few shutouts, and we've already seen one shutout this year. So it's really clicking together.
As a defenseman, a sheeter can bail you out because he definitely, his percentages, you already know where he wants the shots, so you've got to angle your guys in exactly where he wants them. And for example, he'll get his nose out of joint because you won't allow him to have the shot. He's got it covered, so he'll want you to take, he'll want that shot to come from that area when you think, no, I can't allow it, or I've got to make it harder. But at the same time, defensemen are just as good as their goalies. Like, we've got to allow a sheeter to see the puck. But when you have such a clutch goalie like a sheeter, if he sees that puck, he's stopping it. That's hands down. So it's our job to clear that net, to make sure he sees that puck, and then really there's no stopping him.
Yeah, I love that. We just sort of were touching on close games, and if we throw the results back up real quick, just to touch on the last two. Look, Adelaide and Rhinos game was incredibly close. The Adelaide had a lead, and the Rhinos fought back to take it all the way to overtime and then win it. I think it was in the last. Let me find it. Like 34 seconds into overtime. So those sort of games are certainly very interesting to watch. So in what you were saying there, Vinny, about, they're more interesting, there's more pressure. Yeah. Even as a viewer, it was fantastic watching it from home going, wow, who is going to win this? So, yeah, very much.
And it was an interesting game because it was Adelaide going ahead, the Rhinos leveling, Adelaide going ahead, the Rhinos leveling. But then the Rhinos turned it around and managed to level the game in the end and then, get the win. Like, it was kind of amazing. And great for the fans. I love games like that.
Yeah. Especially out of that, Central Coast, out of there, the Rhinos home rink, like that's massive. Especially, being on the back pedal at home and then coming through, that crowd would just went bananas, I bet.
Look, they were pretty loud coming through the stream, which was cool. And from what I hear from the team there, that the crowd's getting bigger and bigger every week. So as the league develops and they've been able to take on a few players like the Kulishov brothers, they've gained Tyler Kubara. I think the strength is great for the league to see teams getting better every season. So that's was particularly enjoyable. And
Tommy Landers there too.
Yeah, of course.
Big fan favorite.
If you remember, Sean, one of my predictions of last week's podcast was that Newcastle would turn around and get a win, and it was really nice to see them do that on Sunday. I think as we talked about before we went live, the imports landing and really coming out making a big impact was huge. So between Drolet, Skachkov, and Tolberg, the three of them were all on the score sheet to help contribute to that 6-1. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that out of the North Stars now. So.
Yeah, Tolberg scored 2, didn't he?
What's that, sorry?
Tolberg scored 2, didn't he?
He did. Yeah. 2 goals and an assist. So
it's a pretty great debut, that's for sure. Well, I have to say the weekend was really tough for Canberra, obviously. Travelling light on the road down to Melbourne. 2 identical results, which were blowouts, unfortunately. The thing that really struck me was just Canberra's lack of intensity. They just couldn't put enough pressure on the blue lines for the opposition, and it meant, it was a tough day at the office both days. So, lots to learn from that weekend, I think. Yeah, but definitely. I will say one thing: it was great seeing quite a few players get milestones on the weekend.
Yep.
Including Farmy got his. Milestone against the Melbourne Ice, which was great. And I think Bassino got his game 100 games, I think it was, as well, which was great. So good times.
So now we'll jump into the standings, now that I've got it in my head the right order. So look, a successful weekend from the Ice. I'm sure you'd be very happy to see sitting atop of the ladder there, Vinny.
Look, Thunder.
It was the one movement, right? The Ice overtook the Thunder.
Yep.
Yeah, well, look, I'll tell you what, it's so tight, everything. Even obviously where we're sitting, we're not really looking to basically, sit here and puff our chests out and say we're number one. We're just taking, we're just taking it game by game. So we're already looking forward. We're looking forward to Thunder come to the town and bring it on. Like, we're hungry.
Yeah, and it is still very early in the season, so until finals format gets announced, standings is a little bit of just, we'll have a look at it, see small movements, but anything can happen. And as we've discussed in previous episodes, the Brave lost the first 10 games of last season and went through and won the cup. So ultimately, I think at this point in the season, it's still anybody's cup, but we like to just have a quick look and check in on numbers and points, and Adrenaline really fighting to get their first win at this point.
Yeah, they've been close twice. 2 overtime losses is pretty tough way to start the season with the 4 regulation losses. So they should be able to turn some of those into wins, though. You can't go the entire season with that much bad luck, I suppose.
No, but most teams are getting a lot of their imports now, like Newcastle. I think we'll see a bit more of a competitive league in these coming weeks. So we saw it with Newcastle on Sunday, and yeah, the next couple of weekends I think will be really interesting.
Yeah, Adelaide also added a new import D, a German, I think it was, German Canadian, and Canberra's still got a couple to come. I'm sure a number of the teams have a few players yet to start the season, but
pretty sure we've all got something up our sleeves. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Alrighty.
Milestones graphic, Sean. Do we have that?
I don't have the milestones graphic done yet. I apologize.
Let's get to the scoring leaders.
Let's go to the scoring leaders. This is one thing that I've been desperately trying to get out today, but I just didn't get a chance to finish it. But yeah, so scoring leaders. So we've got Schindel now as top of the league, equal points with Timmins and McNally on 20. Hikosaka and Wishart on 19. It's really close this year. Everyone's sort of in bunches. Below this, you got a bunch of people on around the 15, 14 mark. But Schindel, I think I mentioned it last week. He's kind of been like this quiet import that didn't really get announced, but came into the Ice team preseason and has really just sparked up the league. Every week he just gets points.
Mate, never ceases to amaze me. Good old Shinny, because he sort of just rolled in right under the radar, and very, very humble guy. Like even pretty much he walking into a change room and he's just one of the boys, not puffing his chest out, just a pure like team guy. And I couldn't speak more proudly of the guy, like, because he's just so nice, so genuine. At the same time, like, you watch him skate and just his stride and the way he's sort of moving around, he will draw penalties without even like verbally doing anything. It's just the where his body position is, and geez, can he finish? So like everything's just to point, and it's just clutch. Like, you get a guy like that. Would I trade him for anybody else? No, right now, nope.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be doing something right if you're like on equal points with Timmins, right? Because he's been phenomenal in this league for a number of years now, and if you're scoring point for point against him, you're up there.
Yeah, 100%.
So we might jump into the round 6 fixtures and have a look at what's coming up this weekend. So off the top of my head, I know Newcastle's heading down to Adelaide, and I'm sure Adelaide will be wanting to get some revenge on home ground. And we have the Rhinos heading up to Boondall. So that'll be 2 interesting games for them. I think a good challenge. Lightning, I've said a few times, I think the underdogs, and they're a dark horse in the league, and I think we'll see some more great things come of them. So that game I'm looking forward to watch. And coming down to Melbourne, Perth, we'll see you on Saturday, Vinny, and we'll be playing Mustangs on Sunday. Yep. Tell us a bit about, like, Perth's a great team. So tell us a bit about, like, what do you look forward to playing? Like, is there any players you like seeing and playing against with that team?
Oh, look, let's be honest. I love being on the ice when Zane's out there. He's, if, you've got the puck, he's tracking you, head on a swivel. Love giving it back. He's definitely a competitor. And we definitely enjoy, look, the score could go either way. But it's just a battle. Like, you're in the thick of it. Guys like that, and especially teams like that, like Perth right now, as far as I'm concerned, like, they're a real threat. They can turn it on and they could run away with everything right now. Can they put it together? Time will tell.
On a weekend like this where they're traveling, they split it between you and the Mustangs. Do you have a preference for day you play? Like, do you prefer the Saturday, or do you like the Sunday on their second game? Like, what's?
Oh, look, this Saturday's nice because you got recovery, so you got that Sunday off. Sunday's a lot harder, obviously with everybody having a job. and small families. That morning, depending how physical the game was, it's a little bit harder getting out of bed. But at the same time, the Saturday night's great because you get to hang out, you can have a night off, you can kick your feet up, knowing that you can just have that little sleep in the morning and then get your day done and then get back to it. The Sunday, depending who's firing and who's not, or who's run down, do I find a difference between the 2 days? Not really. Every player is pretty much at this stage, and from what from coming back and what I've noticed, everybody's ready. Everybody's ready to play. If you've got a guy with a major injury, like that's fine, he'll be out. But if you've got a guy sore, there's no difference between him skating Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's real noticeable for me to see in this league at the moment. Like just guys backing it up back to back. So it's good to see.
Yeah, and the crowd as well. Like they're pretty rowdy, no matter if it's Saturday or Sunday. So you get a good crowd out at the Ice House in Melbourne.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely some super fans in there, but look, it's it's a credit to the club to obviously to have those people involved, and obviously just like Canberra, like geez, the amount of years I played out of there, and the crowd never changed. Having bourbon poured on you to having a chinwag with a 7-year-old lady calling you a DICK head, and it's just all on my face, and never take offense to it. Just love every second of it. Love competing in that building, so very very similar, but we're all lucky to have fans like that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that leads us into our round 6 predictions. Do you want to take it away from there, Sean?
Yep. Let me just bring it up. I'll bring up the first ones. The first one we've got here is the biggest good surprise. All right. So what is one kind of wacky prediction that could happen this weekend? A big surprise. Courtney, you want to lead?
I'll jump in, and I'm going to say that maybe the Rhinos might surprise us with a double win in Brisbane. It'll be a bit tough. It's going to be a good battle, but if they can take both games, that would be really cool.
I was going to pick a hat trick to Chen this weekend for Adelaide.
Nice.
He looked really good for Australia, and he's been looking more deadly than I've seen him in previous seasons. So I think with that speed, if he can get the good shots going, he could score some goals. Wait, Vinnie? What are you thinking?
Look, I'd really like to see Adelaide pull some points.
Yeah,
we only live next door, so we've got to like somebody.
And I mean, for the league, you want those bottom teams to be able to be picking up points and keeping it real close in the ladder. Yeah. So, yeah.
But I would be impressed if you see the Rhinos pull points out of Brisbane. Like that'd be pretty cool. So if I see that happen, sorry.
Brisbane have been super competitive this season so far. They are a tough team.
I agree. I got one of my old teammates playing up there at the moment, Sam Hoddick, and just an absolute gem. But his style has not changed. He skates that wing, but at the same time, like he's a team guy, and I think he's got a letter on this year. Perfect fit for that sort of team, and then obviously being an Olympic-sized rink benefits them hugely.
I know the Brisbane fans also love Sam Hoddick up there. Like they've really taken to him, and he's taken to them. So it's a good win up there for him. But they've also got like one of the best tandems going in the league with Trinker and Dornbos. Like they've both been killing it this season.
They had a cracker down when they played with us. Like we were struggling against them, and like some of the saves they were pulling off. It was just really, really good to see. At the same time, like surprising. But for them to back it up as well, like now they continue to back it up. So they've got to be watched. That's for sure.
And just a really good surprise suggestion in the comments from Andrew John Egan, a goalie goal. I would love to see a goalie goal in this league. That would be fun.
It's almost like the goalie fight as well. Like it's that like unicorn thing that we want to see.
I'm not going to say. Look, I'm a fan of obviously goalies scoring goals. But I tell you what, it was so close last year, and I almost almost threw my tool bench out of my garage because I watched most of the games on live stream.
Yeah.
And I thought Ashita was going to go, and that would have been Christmas for me.
All right, so we'll go on to the second of our things. So this is the goal. Goalhorn Breakers. So this is basically top scorer for the week. It could be a team, it could be a player. Courtney, what are you thinking?
It's going to be totally unpredictable that I'm going to say Yu Hikosaka of Perth Thunder. He has been solid in all of his games, so I would be shocked if he doesn't get a couple of points this weekend.
Fair. Vinny, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't know if I've got a comment because I don't want anybody to be scoring more goals than that.
Look, you can name one of your guys. Like,
I would like to, but like I'm very superstitious. I might just jump out of that one because I'm not going to pump my own tires up. We're going to take it game by game, and
there's a lot of superstitions in hockey. I know a lot of hockey players that do. I remember the other year I wanted a photo of the Brave guys with the H. Newman trophy.
No.
And they wouldn't touch it at all. They're just like, nah.
No, 100%. I would have done the same thing.
So yes.
I'll throw to the comments again. Darcy Flanagan throwing out there Nathaniel Benson. He had a good weekend, and he scored the lone goal for Adelaide in Newcastle on Sunday. So Darcy throwing out Nathaniel Benson's going to break the goal horn. We'll see. Maybe at home he might just have a bit more of a relaxed time, and you never know. Yeah,
he was another milestone this last weekend too. So congratulations to Daniel Benson as well. What was my prediction going to be? I thought about this pre-time and then I've forgotten. I think I was going to go with the Lightning. I think I was going to go with them having the highest scorers this weekend. They've been really great defensively, not as impressive offensively, but I think this weekend's their weekend.
Cool.
And then the last one, the stingiest defense. All right, so least goals this time. Who's going to have the biggest defense? It can be a blue line, team, goaltender.
I mean, how can I not say our guest is going to just dominate that blue line? Vinny's going to rule the roost at home against Perth.
Yes, I was also going to say Melbourne Ice. I think Ashita's in for another shutout, and which will take him to second ever in the league and one behind Kimlin. So, that's my prediction. Vinny, you want to predict, or you're quite happy to leave this as well?
Sorry, I'm going to jump fence again. I just can't predict anything game by game, moment by moment.
Fair.
I like that.
Fair.
It's just the three, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah, it's just the three. So that's our predictions. One thing I did want to do, though, is I really wanted to bring up this stats. So we talked about this a bit earlier, the head-to-head between the Ice and the Mustangs. 29 wins to 20, 59% to the Melbourne Ice over the history between the two teams.
Oh, wow.
It has closed up dramatically. I was counting this today, and I'm like, going early on, it was always the Ice winning, 3-1 each season or 4 games. And then sort of 2018, it flipped, and the Mustangs have become a lot more successful in the series between you guys. You guys obviously got the first win for the year. How are you feeling this year against the Mustangs?
Oh, look, it's anybody's game on any given nights. It's really who turns up. It really depends on lineups, and line matching. That's obviously coming into play, right? In most of our games. Being able to sort of switch on, especially on a Friday night, like, thank God we don't have those double headers anymore where we have to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
They were hard to get up for. You got them done in the end, but you did pay the price. But, following those weekends, the Friday, Saturday games, they're still pretty tough, but you get a recovery Sunday.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, coming, obviously refacing Mustangs, at the next derby, and obviously it just starts again. It really, and then at the same time, you got to remember, guys are going to get injured, guys are going to get suspended, dynamics are going to change. You got guys to fit in. Our depth is pretty deep right now. With obviously you guys would have noticed our team list at the start of the year, and everybody was saying, "Look, that's massive. Like, what's going on there?" And it's purely we have such a deep core, and then obviously development coming through. We have, and what we're trying to basically put forward is wave after wave and of development, and trying to have that in our pocket where we can bring guys up, and guys are able to take weekends off. Key guys, not so much, but is there a guy to bring back, bring into the lineup that can hold that spot down? That's what we're trying to achieve here, especially naming a roster like that.
Yeah, excellent. Look, we touched on a bit earlier about you coming back and playing with Joey. So what was it about this year that you were like, yeah, I'm in? Because obviously you've had quite a bit of time off. I think your last season was 2015.
About 10 years.
Yeah, that was my first season was your last. So it's nice to actually see you play. What was different about this year?
Well, look, there's nothing worse than watching Canberra lift a cup in your own barn. And and I was actually I was standing with the Canberra fans, it was good to see. At the same time,
Vinnie Hughes is. Not Vinnie. Joey is like a Canberra legend as well as an Ice legend.
100%. That's why. That's the only reason why I was standing with Canberra fans. Let's be honest. If they really knew who I was, they'd probably throw me on the ice anyway. But yeah, look, sorry, I lost where we were. We were just talking about Canberra fans.
Just you deciding to come back this year.
Decided, yeah. So yeah, look, watching Canberra hoist that cup, that was pretty much one of the boxes that were ticked. But at the same time, I've got a young family, and in that 10 years when I did retire, obviously I was bringing my girls up, and now all my girls are they're all netball girls, but they don't know anything. I'm just dad, which is great. Which is great. They know nothing about me or what I've done. They know I play hockey. They'll come watch me play, a bit of beer league here and there, or just a little mini tournament. But it really sunk in when, my girls want to turn the TV on and they go, "Hey, can we watch Uncle Joey?" And, and walking past them, "I want to watch Uncle Joey." I'm like, "Well, hang on. What about Dad? Do you want to watch Dad?"
Yeah.
So then, and then my 7-year-old asked me, like, how come you don't play with Uncle Joey? And, it's sort of, it's probably happened in every hockey family, that sort of process, and then, that obviously I had to sit there and go, well, where am I at? Is business good? Is family good? Is everybody happy? Am I able to pull away? Can I balance this? The answer is I still don't know if I can balance it. Like, we're only 8 games in, and I'm managing it all. But at the same time, like, I had to make sure the body was right. So 2 years ago, actually 5 years ago, I decided that things were getting a little bit out of control. I was getting a little bit unhealthy. I was finding I was getting a bit slower on the feet, and I was putting on a fair bit of weight, and I wasn't really happy with it. And so decided, I'm like, okay, well, let's be active. So I started, of all things, to get active, I decided to start backpack hunting. So, which basically meant I'd get into the alpine, and then I would just basically live off the land. So you can kind of say, like, I sort of refound myself out bush, and sort of just came back to reality. And then obviously having my girls in my corner supporting me through this, and me getting fit is another factor. But not only just getting fit just to play, but just being healthy was a main thing. And where I've sort of where I was to where I am now, like pain free, old injuries disappearing, it speaks volumes. And especially, and especially just being able to, my mental toughness was always there. So, like I already knew what I had to face if I was, watching Canberra play and hoist that cup last year. I already knew I had, at least a good 8-9 months under my belt. I'm like, hey, this is the process. What are we going to do? We're going to flick the switch and we're going to go, or are we just going to sit back and just see what else we can do? And look, at the end of the day, I decided that I'm like, hey, let's give this a crack. And I didn't tell anybody until pretty much even before the team started skating. So it was probably maybe about a month before.
Yeah.
And then got asked the question. I'm so, well, just let me turn up to camp. I can't promise anything. And we'll just take it from there. And I sort of just kept it to myself because I just didn't want to be, regardless. I was very upfront with Melbourne in discussions and let them know, I'm like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'm a big boy. You can pat me on the butt and you can send me down the hallway. I'm like, I'm okay. So I'm not going to be upset. So we'll just take it that way. And so, yeah, so like how everything changes and to where I am now, and still continue to compete with the boys and everybody competing every week, for a lineup in this, obviously to play in Melbourne, it's always a privilege. Nothing's a given, and just continue and obviously continuing their journey.
Yeah, it's a massive team and a massive step, man. That's so good. Like it's so, it's a hard thing to do, and it's great to see. Like it was a big surprise seeing both you and Tommy Powell on the list preseason. But yeah, a great one, I have to say. It was good to see some old faces back.
All right, look, me and Tommy seeing each other around the change room again, or just even hanging out. It's obviously very, very special as well. It's like it's almost just hanging out with my brother, and then obviously having Liam in that change room as well. Like the history's there, being and walking in that change room, and obviously the dynamics of that change room, younger guys, older guys. Like, let's be honest, like I'm 43 years old. I'm like, I'm double these guys' age, and I still can't get used to the new music. Like I don't understand this doof doof. Yeah, like just throw some country on for me, boys. Like that's all I want.
But Vinny, speaking of that, you've got 6 points in 6 games, mate. You're doing heaps well.
Yeah, no, look, doing okay. Look, I'm surrounded by like guys like my line mates. We all have a role, regardless if it's to sit on the bench or what we're doing. Everyone's bought in, and that's the main thing. So getting the amount of shifts that I have been getting, I'm quite happy with that. Do I want more? Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, but I've got to pull the reins back and realize that there's obviously another guy deserving that spot, or there isn't. But privileged to be told that, hey, it's your time. Give the kick in the butt. Let's go. And then obviously to put some points on the board it's always great to contribute, especially as soon as you get a good win out of a building, and then to come back and have dinner and sit there with a smile on your face having a glass of wine.
So you obviously touched on the changes with the music. What other big differences have you noticed around the league from when you last left to now?
Look, that it's funny because you sort of you roll into buildings. Everybody sort of already knows me, like back from the day, and like it's almost like they're sort of ushering me into a corner. Like, are you okay? I'm like, what do you mean? Am I okay? Like, like, come on, like, what's going on? Let's battle. Like, what's happening? And then it just takes them a couple of shifts to realize I've just stuck them in the back, or I've given them a nice little slash, and they realize, hey, he's just another player. But at the end of the day, everything to everything run by the teams. It's so quick, it's so fast, it's so efficient compared to when we were playing back in the day where we sort of had to fend for ourselves. Like, here's a team jacket, go sort out your own dinner, here's some cash. Where everything's sort of set menu, and the teams are so close. Like, that was the one thing that I really, really enjoy. The teams are so close, And the closer the teams, obviously, the better the results. But just seeing that around the league, it's, and then running into older guys or guys that are, when I was on the way out, they were just sort of halfway through, them coming over and having, just seeing how I'm going and, what I've been up to. And, good to see, just get a bit of a pat on the back saying, hey, good to see you out here, old man. I'm like, yeah, it's good to be back.
You were part of the Ice's three-peat dynasty that happened before I came along. So I think that was 2012, 13, 14?
10,
No.
11,
10, 11, 12.
10, 11, 12. I knew it was around that era. So do you find that, just having been a part of that and bringing that leadership into the group now is just helping build the team? Like you mentioned, there's a lot of young guys there. Like, do you find that helps?
Oh, look, I think it's almost like I've actually really thought long and hard about that, obviously when I did come back, because you've got guys like, Tommy and Liam, myself, my brother, and then you have your leadership group. How these guys are going to react with us coming in, knowing that we're in the mindset. How they're going to adapt. And like the simple answer is we're just ourselves. Cool. Do we bring that confidence across the table? 100%. Can we make a call? Can we say black or white? 100%. Supporting these guys for the next generation, or even just being their friends, is more than you can contribute to any team. Not being able to step up and try to control a change room, because at the end of the day, my captain, Mr. Mac, he's our leader. Does he need help? No, he just needs support, and exactly how my team supported me back in those times. And like, we had a dynasty, and we could have kept going to the very end. Let's be honest. But trying to hold a team together for 3 years, that's an accomplishment in itself, because you get guys, that eventually get sick of each other, and it's even just trying to hold that together is almost impossible. So getting the 3 championships out of Melbourne in that era was like, I still don't understand how it was done. We had so much, we had so many internal problems, but we still had the core and our friendship. But at the same time, rolling in, obviously, and then flipping that, that script, and being in Melbourne's change room now, and just being these guys' friends and just hanging out is enough for them to sort of, for us, because obviously we rub off on them. Not that we're going to drop some major knowledge on them and show them how it was done, but it's a good thing. And, at the same time, like, it's good to see.
I'd love your thoughts on Canberra's new rink that they're building. We've seen they're starting to bring it all together now at the AIS. How important, from someone like you, is that to the league and for a team to have a rink like that? Well,
look, at the end of the day, it's massive. You've got a facility being built like that, and it's a fishbowl facility. Like, that's what Melbourne always wanted. Unfortunately, we only got half a grandstand, and there's, we could have done this, we could have done that, should have, could have, would have. But at the end of the day, Canberra, tip your hat to you. You're stepping up to the plate. You're doing everything that we wish we could have done. And I wish you the best, because I really want to see that happen, because it's either going to close the book or open the book. And it's a game changer. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about this pre-episode about just, it's a big swing for ice hockey in Australia, and it could be massive or it could backfire. But always looking for the positives. And it's very similar to the Ice House back in 2010 when that opened. I mean, you guys came from playing at Oakley and Bendigo before then to the Ice House, and that was such a massive step up for the league, because we didn't have any modern facilities at that stage.
No, and look, playing in that era, and obviously doing the years out of Oakley, and obviously my brother being the owner of Oakley now, and giving it the facelift that it deserves. That place holds a real special place in our hearts, because it's where we first started skating.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, geez, I don't even know how we played there. Like, we played 5-on-5 in that arena. And to be honest, like, when we were playing out of there, like, teams would come in and they would cringe, because we would just break bone. Like, it was just a massacre in there. But at the same time, like, it was our barn, it was ours, and we were proud of what we had. One of the highlights, of obviously, over the years, and one of the highlights of my hockey career was when 2010 we finally got our first cup, and you always remember your first. I snuck the good old trophy down to Oakley, and I sat it down at Oakley Middle Ice. And it was just a
Nice.
special moment because I'd always vowed that I'd bring it. I'd bring a cup here. We didn't win it out of that building, but it got to sit on that ice. It got to sit on that sheet, and it was just a very surreal feeling. And I got a photo of it too. And I still look back on that photo and just smile. And I think at that time, that 2010, that was the original cup, because we've got the replica now. So, Oakley holds a special spot, but you never forget where you come from. At the same time, like, to see what my brother's done with the arena, and to basically, let's be honest, I'm very lucky he is a rink owner, because I get to skate not as much as I'd like. He's still charged, believe it or not.
That is so good.
Yeah, look, just to have him in charge there, and obviously do what he's done with the place. It's great. And then obviously Canberra moving to the new facility, like, it's the same, the same. It's not the same era, but like, it's 2025. Like, you're going to experience exactly what we did, and I wish you all the best, because it's going to go so quick. Like, it was a flick of a switch, and then all of a sudden, we've got billboards on trams, and they're promoting our game, and then they stop promoting because we were selling out crowds. Like, it just goes so quick. But you just got to strap in and enjoy the ride.
Yeah, fantastic.
Amazing. Now, Vinnie, also back in the day, you were actually part of the one and only Trans-Tasman Champions League. How was that as an experience, playing the New Zealand teams? And
I think Tyler Lovering was the AIHL president at that time. So he was a real driver of that, and merging that league and bringing him over. And I clearly remember that weekend, because I pretty much sat on the bench because I had food poisoning. Believe it or not, I couldn't even stand up, but I could not be a part of it, because it was history. Like, I knew how important it was. But basically, coming in, and I played minimum shifts. We were in regular season as well. But watching that and being part of that was just super special, especially seeing, New Zealand come across, and they sent it, it was actually a pretty close score the year they did come across. But yeah, it was pretty special, let's be honest. And especially because we always wished that New Zealand would be part of our competition. And look, let's be honest, eventually it's going to happen one day, and when it does, it's just going to open up more avenues.
Yes, I must admit, ever since I started following the league a lot, I always thought, why don't we have the New Zealand teams playing here? They play in their own league.
Yeah, I always kind of figured that it'd be cheaper. Like, obviously the flights are cheaper from New Zealand to Melbourne. I mean, than our Perth trips, but still, eventually they're going to figure it out. And look, they produce a lot of good hockey players. Like, they've come a long way.
And that Champions League was the precursor for having our national teams play off on an annual basis now, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, real good to see. And especially, obviously to warm up before national tournaments, especially with the timing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's massive, for Australian hockey.
Yeah, so you obviously also played for Australia back in the day.
Yeah.
Do you still follow the national team much?
I was, the last couple of years I kind of fallen off the wagon. It's just very hard to follow. I watched this year's. Especially obviously our last game, obviously trying to hold our spot. I think I was in and out of sleep, and then I'm not sleeping until I find out that we, obviously we won. But like, just to watch that, and obviously have a couple of boys playing on that team was just so great to see. And especially how, regardless on who's on that team or whatever, whatever's happening, whatever players aren't traveling, or did we send our best team? The point is that, we have our home countrymen representing our country. Like, that's the point. You put that jersey on, regardless on who you are, you're representing our country. Did I think they, could they have done better? You have so many people across the board, and, let's be honest, there's a lot of trolls out there saying, oh, this is rubbish, this is that. But at the end of the day, you put that jersey on, there's no better feeling. And for those guys to do what they did and stay in the division that we did is an accomplishment, regardless. So tip my hat to them, and better luck next year. But we'd love to have seen the tournament in Melbourne. Yeah, of course, it was just going to be dynamite. But look, the cards weren't in line. it just wasn't meant to happen. So, you just got to deal with that.
Well, there's always next year, right? There's always another year. 100%. So we've always got a chance to get it back here again.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So, they've got a lot of making up to do and a lot of questions to ask that need to be answered. Just purely for for each state and like where are we at with this, but there's always room for improvement. There's never, we can't go backwards.
Yeah.
So.
That's brilliant. I feel like I've learned so much from you, Vinny. Thank you so much.
No.
I'm just going to throw. Do we have any final thoughts?
I was going to ask Vinny about your German stint. I noticed on EP that you played in Germany.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Oh, look, that was wild. Like, I'm not going to lie. I had the time of my life. I was lucky enough when I was working for Stan Smil, who was the coach of the Canucks back in 2000 or 99 back then. And I was lucky enough that he'd hired pretty much a German friend that was playing, in the Oberliga at the time. And we just got along really well. And we worked probably about 4 years together, during the summers down at Smil Hockey School down in Whistler. And we always kept in contact, but it was always the game plan, just being these young guys, growing up, and we would train, look after kids, and then we'd train with, whoever was around. And we kept in contact. I went back home. We were traveling everywhere, but eventually he gave me a call. He goes, "Do you want to come over? There's an import spot open on my team. Would you, do you want to come out?" And I didn't even, I think I was already on the flight. I didn't even say yes. So at the time, it was during the lockout. So it was very, when I did get there, the NHL lockout happened. So all the divisions, pretty much any professional player in obviously in the NHL and all lower divisions, they all just basically took major contracts in Europe, which pushed where I was playing the Bayernliga, which was a Div 4 at the time, which pushed everybody down, especially those high caliber players. So I would be competing every week. I'd have somebody trying to take my spot. So I was lucky enough to sort of hold my second contract, hold it, week to week, or I was on a plane coming straight back home. So I was managing, I was very lucky to have that. But with playing in Germany and playing the levels and, playing out of, buildings in Rosenheim, and the history, in obviously Bavaria was just absolutely mind-blowing. It was the best experience I could ever have. I had friends floating around playing in other in import spots and playing against them. So we'd catch up. But the culture was just so embracing. And let's just say there was a lot of drinking that I couldn't keep up with after games. And I still don't even know how how they managed to keep all that alcohol down and then still turn up to practice the next day. So it was a big learning curve, but there was a lot of growing up there as well, because I was finally, obviously just coming out of that 20-year-old sort of junior era, and then I'm like, hey, I'm playing contract hockey now, and I've got to produce, or else I'm going home. There's the door, and it was real cutthroat, which was definitely a big learning curve.
Awesome.
But I loved every second of it, and I still want to go back just to visit, because I got a couple of friends that I was real close with that we just keep in contact and send me Christmas cards every year. And but yeah, it's just hockey in general. Like even through all my experiences, I still get I get Christmas cards from Jared Haynes out now. He's in LA now, like he's an old Melbourne Ice player. And then obviously I have a core of guys, the Melbourne Ice alumni, which we kept pretty quiet, which is 12 guys that go away once a year, and all we do is sit around and cook and talk about old times. So
nice.
Yeah, so the journey is still continuing. But the story just keeps getting on. We'll go away and we'll talk about the same things we talked about the year before, but we're just so happy to catch up with each other. We spent all those times on the road together, and regardless if it's on in Europe or Canada or in Australia, like it's hockey, and I find it very hard to socialize with people that don't play hockey, and I just can't explain it, because I'm not myself. Like usually you can get me around a rink and I won't shut up. But you get me around, a bunch of school teachers, and I'm at a luncheon, and I'll just sit there and I'm very polite and very placid and very quiet. Like, you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just not my place.
Makes total
something
sense.
about a rink just disarms everyone.
100%. 100%.
This I just want to throw to the comments, Sean, just a comment from Anthony Russell with some love for Vinny.
Massive love for Vinny.
Been watching since 2009, so the Ice 3-peat roster was massive for me watching over here. So Russell's over in the UK. Love to see the old guys rocking. Yes, he's our resident UK watcher.
Good on you, Russell.
Just a shout out to everyone that's commented tonight. There've been a few there. Sorry we haven't gotten to all of you. We appreciate you jumping in and throwing your thoughts into the comments, though.
100%.
On that, if like and subscribe, guys. We will be coming to you every Thursday, hopefully live every week from here on. And look, thank you again, Vinny. It's been wonderful having you on as a guest and your insights into the game and into Melbourne Ice this year. Very appreciated. No,
I appreciate you guys and what you're doing. You guys are awesome. Like, keep up the content, because I love watching it, and it's just a privilege to be on, obviously be on your podcast.
Cheers.
Thanks, Vinny.
Well, with that, we'll say goodnight, and we'll look forward to seeing all of you, all of our fans again next week, and hopefully another great round of hockey this weekend.
Yes. Up the AIHL. See you guys.
See you guys.